everyone, this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make this necklace that I'm calling the Spectacular Necklace simply because I could not think of a name for it. But when I put it on, it looked spectacular. It hangs just right. It's the perfect, for better lack of any other way of putting it, it's a perfect cleavage necklace. It dangles down really pretty, and it has just the right amount of shine and oomph to it. It looks really nice on. Reminds me of something you'd wear to a ball or something when you put it on. This necklace I designed while I was making this video, so if there's a few hesitations here and there, that's why. But hopefully it's clear enough and you'll be able to get through it just fine. I had an idea in my head of what I wanted my finished project to look like, so I wasn't going completely from scratch. But this is what this looks like. We make components. We also make a back to it, so you can see it from the back how nicely finished this necklace is. It's a really nice necklace. So let's go ahead and look at the beads that you will need to get started with this necklace. For this project today, you will need an 8mm round bead. I am using a metallic faceted crystal metallic silver 8mm round. Of course, it doesn't have to be a crystal. It can be anything 8mm round that you would like to use. Then you will need a 6mm round, and this is a druck, and it is topaz with a turquoise swirl. And again, it doesn't have to be a druck. It can be anything you'd like to use that is 6mm round. And then you'll need a 4mm round. I am using a opal opaque aqua 4mm round crystal. And again, it doesn't have to be a crystal. It can be anything 4mm round. As long as you find three different size rounds, 8, a 6, and a 4, that go nice together, then you can use those. That's fine. You will need a 6/0, an 8/0, and an 11/0 seed bead. I am using all Tohos, and they are metallic bronze. You will also need a clasp. The clasp I am using is a little bronze toggle clasp. You will need several yards of 8-pound Fireline and a beading needle. I'm using a size 10 English beading needle. So you will start by adding onto your needle a series of 4 8mm round beads and 4 6mm round beads, alternating between the two with an 11/0 between each one. We'll start by picking up our crystal, our 8mm round, and then an 11/0, and then a 6mm round, an 11/0, an 8mm round, an 11/0, a 6, and an 11/0, an 8, an 11/0, a 6, an 11/0, an 8, and an 11/0, a 6, and an 11/0. And this is what you will have on your thread. Just make sure you alternate the 4 beads in between each other of each size and put an 11/0 seed bead between each one. Bring your series of beads. Make sure you start with a bead and end with an 11/0. Bring your beads all the way down to the end of your thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, just enough to tie a knot. And we're going to, my working thread is on this side of my beads and my tail is on this side. I'm going to bring my needle around with my working thread and go through the first bead that I added, the 8mm round crystal. I'm going to hold on to the bead and the tail and bring my thread through and bring my beads into a circle, just like this. Now hold on to it the best you can and then just sew back through all of these beads that you just added. Now, when you get back around to where your tail is coming out, I've got to go through this 11/0, excuse me. There we go. Now, my working thread and my tail are right next to each other, right between these two beads, And I am just going to pick them up and tie a knot with the working thread and the tail. Now don't tie your beads too tight because we want to work between these beads. And at this stage, if you pull them really, really tight, it makes the rest of the component difficult. So just don't leave them loose, of course. Just don't pull them extremely tight. And now that I have my knot, this is what it'll look like. Now I am going to move myself through this 11-0 and this druck and this 11-0 and bring myself out in front of the next crystal here. Right here. So I'm right between the 11-0 and the 8mm round bead. Now I'm going to pick up a series of 11-0s and an 8-0, and I'm going to make a loop around this crystal. So I'm going to pick up 4 11-0 seed beads, an 8-0, and then 4 more 11-0 seed beads. This is what you'll have on your needle. Now you're coming out of this little 11-0 right here. You're going to go over the top of the crystal into the next 11-0 on the other side of the crystal, and then through the druck and through the 11-0 on the other side of the druck here. And pull. This will make a little loop around your crystal. And then you can turn your work and you will do the same thing around the next crystal. Pick up 4 11-0 seed beads, an 8-0, and 4 11-0 seed beads. You're coming out of this 11-0 seed bead right in front of your crystal. You're going to go over the top of the crystal into the 11-0 on the other side through the druck and the 11-0. Pull your beads down around the crystal, just like that. Turn your work and do the same thing again. 4 11-0 seed beads, an 8-0, and 4 11-0 seed beads. Then you're going to hop over the top of the crystal into the 11-0, the druck, and the 11-0 on the other side of the crystal, and pull. And then one more time, you will pick up 11-0s, 4 11-0s, an 8-0, and 4 11-0s. And we're coming out of this 11-0. We're going to go into the next 11-0 on the other side of the crystal. Go through the druck and the 11-0 on the other side of the druck. And pull your beads down around the crystal. And just to make sure my loop stays secure, I'm not going to climb up to work into these on this bead. I'm going to go through this bead, the 8-0, I'm coming out of the 11-0 here. I'm going to go through the 8mm and the 11-0 on the other side of it, through the druck and the 11-0 on the other side of it, just like this. And now my little loops will be a little bit more secure and I can work into them. We are going to climb up these 4 11-0 seed beads and exit the 8-0. This will make us in position to add our embellishment on top of the little circle we've just made. So we'll go up these 4 11-0 seed beads, exit the 8-0, and pull the thread through, just like this. So now I'm exiting this 8-0 seed bead right here. Now I want to go to my next loop, and I want to go directly, well, nope. Okay, I am exiting this 8-0 seed bead now, and I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, a 4mm round, an 11-0 seed bead. I'm going to go from this 8-0 seed bead in my loop above my crystal into the very next 8-0 seed bead in the loop above the next crystal, and pull these beads down. just like this. This will draw the little loops up, but at this point, they're going to be loose, so don't worry about that. And then you will pick up an 11/0 seed bead, a 4mm round, and 11/0 seed bead. And you will go from the 8/0 that you're exiting directly into the 8/0 in the next loop across from where the crystal from where you're working out of. Then we'll turn our work. We're exiting this 8/0. We're going to pick up a 11/0, a 4mm round, and an 11/0, this. And we are going to go from this 8/0 that we're exiting into the next 8/0 in the next loop and go through it. And now we will pick up an 11/0, a 4mm round crystal, and an 11/0. And we're going to go from this 8/0 that we're exiting into the very first 8/0 we started in. And pull through. This will draw all the beads you just added up on top of your other beads. Now, we want to just sew through the 11/0, the crystal, the 11/0, the 8/0, the 11/0, the crystal, the 11/0, the 8/0. So basically we're just going to sew all the way around all the beads we just added, avoiding the 11/0 seed beads in our original loops. So we're going to go all the way around the beads. And once you get all the way around your beads, exit the 8/0 on top of one of the crystals, just like this. Now, we're going to add a bead on top of these beads by picking up an 11/0, an 8mm round, and an 11/0. I am coming out of this side of my 11/0 seed bead. Let's get just a little closer for this part. I'm exiting this 8/0 seed bead on the top of the crystal here. I'm going to go directly across to the next 8/0 seed bead on top of the crystal across from where I am. And I'm coming out of this side. I want to go into the same side on the opposite crystal here. And pull. Then turn your work, pick up an 11/0 seed bead. You're exiting the 8/0 here, come up through the crystal and pull. Pick up another 11/0 and come into the opposite side from where you started. So the side right here without an 11/0 seed bead already in it. Just like this. Now make sure everything is nice and tight, looks good. And then sew down the 4 11/0 seed beads you're right next to. Right where you're exiting from the 8/0, just go right down these 4 11/0 seed beads. Right here. And then we'll go into the 8mm crystal right here. The original little 11/0 that was between the beads here, you don't have to worry about. Just come down the 4 and then into the 8mm round. And now we're going to make a bottom to our piece here so that it lays nicely, it doesn't collapse, and it holds the shape of our component. This is what you'll have. 6, an 8/0, and then 6 more 11/0s. Then we're coming out of this crystal right here. We're going to go into the opposite side of the crystal and pull our needle through, just like that. Then we're going to go into this little 11-0 right next to where we're exiting, end the druck, end the 11-0, pull our thread through, and then we will come into the next crystal. Don't come into the 11-0 on the other side of the crystal, just the crystal. And again, pick up 6 11-0 seed beads, an 8-0 seed bead, and 6 11-0 seed beads. We're coming out of this side of the crystal. We're going to go into the opposite side of the crystal and pull a loop around our crystals. Now you'll notice our loop is much bigger than it was before, and there's a reason for that, and that's okay. Now we're going to come through the next 3 beads, the 11-0, the druck, and the 11-0, into our next crystal, avoiding the 11-0 on the other side, and we again will pick up our series of seed beads like this, and we will come into the opposite side of our crystal. At this point, you can cut off your tail if you like. It's just going to get in the way. It should be secure enough by now to get rid of it, so we'll just get rid of it. And then I am going to sew through the next 3 beads, the 11-0, the druck, and the 11-0. And then through my crystal, and we are again going to add our loop. We're coming out of this side of the crystal, we're going to go into the opposite side of the crystal. And now you have 4 loops. Now I'm just going to turn it over for a minute so that I can sew back up these 6 seed beads and exit my 8-0. It's just, I'm right-handed, it's a little bit easier for me to do it from this side. And then turn the piece back over. Now we're going to join these 4 8-0s together. So we're coming out of this 8-0 here. We're just going to go into the very next loop and pick up just the 8-0 seed bead like this and pull or thread through. And then the next loop will go into the 8-0 seed bead on the very top here. Don't get any of the 11-0s, just the 8-0s. And then the next loop, we'll pick up the 8-0, go through it. And then we'll go through the 8-0 in the very first loop that we started from, right here. And pull it through. And now we're going to sew all the way back around all of these 8-0 seed beads. Just the 8-0s, avoid the 11-0s, and just sew through your 8-0 seed beads. Once you have sewn through all of them, in order to keep our little component all together here, I am now just going to go underneath the little thread bridge here, and I'm just going to tie a little knot. Let's pull it down gently. Make sure everything is tight before you do this, otherwise you'll have a big loose mess. And then I'm going to sew back through, my little knot's right here. I'm going to sew back through this little 8-0 here. It's okay if you come through an 11-0 because we're going to sew back up these 11-0s so we can get up to this crystal here. If I can get back through my 11-0s, I'm going to come all the way up all 6 of the beads that I added when I made my loop, just like this. I'm going to turn my piece over. Now I want to get to the crystal, to start my next unit, I want to get to the crystal that has my little 11-0s from where I attach this crystal, so that all of my components will lie the same way when I make my necklace. So I'm going to sew through the beads on the side here until I can get to that crystal. So now I am exiting the proper crystal here. Just like that. Now I'm going to add a connection for my next component. Little beads are kind of loose here. If you'd like to, when you get done adding your bead on top, you can sew through your little connection again to tighten it up. I should have done that. It's a little loose looking, but that's okay at this point. Now I'm going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads, a 6-0 seed bead, and 3 11-0 seed beads. I'm exiting this 8mm crystal here. I want to come into the other side of the crystal and go through and pull these beads down into a loop around the crystal, just like this. Now I am going to sew back through these beads. This is a connection and we want it to be nice and strong, so we're just going to sew back through all of these beads that we just added. And then back through the crystal. And then, now that we're exiting the crystal, we need to get up to the top 6-0 and exit it. Now I am exiting my 6-0. And I'm going to make 1 unit of right angle weave to attach my next unit with. So I'm going to pick up 3 6-0 seed beads. I'm coming out of this side of the 6-0. I'm going to go directly into the other side of the 6-0. And now I'm going to sew around all of these beads I just added again because they're loose and wobbly. And this will stabilize them and secure my connection, make it nice and strong. So I'll just sew through all 4 of these beads. Then we need to sew all the way back to the top so that you are exiting the 6-0 seed bead at the very end here. Then we will pick up, to start our next unit, we'll pick up 3 11-0 seed beads, an 8mm round crystal, and 3 11-0 seed beads. You're coming out of this side of the 6-0. We're going to go into the other side of the 6-0 and pull this little bead tight. And again, I'm going to just flip it over so that it's more available to my right hand, and I'm going to sew all the way around the beads I just added. Up through the 11-0s, through the 8mm round, the 11-0s on the other side, and the 6-0. Now this is secure, but I need to get up into my crystal, so I'm just going to sew back up until I am exiting my 8mm round crystal, and this is where we will start our next component. Okay, now that we're exiting our crystal here, we're going to start our next unit. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to need to add We have one crystal on here already, so we'll need 3 more crystals, and we'll need 4 of our drugs. So 3 more 8 millimeters, 4 more 6 millimeters, and then we will put an 11-0 in between each one. So we're coming out here of this crystal. This will be our first crystal that will be in our unit. So we'll pick up an 11-0 and then a 6 millimeter round and an 11-0 and an 8 millimeter and an 11-0, a 6 millimeter, 11-0, and an 8, 11-0, and a 6, 11-0, and an 8, 11-0, and a 6, and an 11-0. And we'll bring these all down, and then we will come through the crystal. And now we have our 4 8 millimeter rounds and our 4 6 millimeter rounds with an 11-0 between all of them. And again, like we did the first unit, we will sew all the way around all of these beads, including the 11-0s, and secure our loop. Okay, when we get all the way back to the crystal, then we're going to sew up through the 11-0, the drug, and the 11-0, and exit the 11-0. And our thread will be between the 8 millimeter round and the 11-0 seed bead here. Now we're going to start making our loops on top of our crystals again. So we'll pick up 4 11-0 seed beads and an 8 millimeter round, or an 8-0 seed bead, and then 4 11-0 seed beads, like this. And then we're exiting this little 11-0. We're going to go into the next 11-0, drug, and 11-0, and pull through. And again, we will do the exact same thing all the way around. So I'm going to let you go ahead and do these 2 beads, and when we get to this one, I'll show you what to do. Okay, so I've gone all the way around. I just need to do my last crystal. Just because there's a connection here does not mean that we're not going to put a loop above it. We still need a loop so that we can connect it to the top beads and build the top of our component. So we're going to go ahead and pick up our 4 11-0 seed beads, an 8-0, and 4 more 11-0 seed beads. And then we're going to, I have an extra one. And then we are coming out of this little 11-0 seed bead here. We're going to skip over the crystal, just as we've been doing all along, and go into the 11-0 seed bead, the drug, and the 11-0, just as we've been doing. We're just going to ignore our connection and pull our loop up around like this. And then we're going to climb up into the 4 11-0s right above where our thread is exiting. We're going to go into the 8-0 seed bead. And again, we're going to build the top of our component. So we're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, a 4 millimeter round, and an 11-0 seed bead. And then we're going to go from this 8-0 to the next 8-0. And we're going to do this all the way around again, just as we did in our first component. So go ahead and do that. Pick up your 11-0, your 4 millimeter round, your 11-0, and connect all 4 of these. Sew through them again, and we'll be back. Okay, so I have put all my little top beads on, my 11-0s, my 4 millimeter rounds, and then I sewed all the way around all of the beads again to secure them and tighten them. And now I am coming out of the 8-0 seed bead on the farthest side here above this crystal. Now you want to make sure that your little 11-0s that you add when we add our top bead are on the same bead that you did in your previous unit. So you don't want to start over here and attach your bead this way, because then your unit will not be the same as this unit. So if you attach from here to here, you're going to want to attach this one from here to here. So let's get a little closer. And we're going to put our top bead on now. So we're going to do an 11-0, a crystal, and an 11-0. We're coming out of this side of the 8-0. We're going to cross over into the 8-0 directly across from us into the same side that we're exiting on, the other 8-0, and pull. And we're going to pull that tight. And then we are going to pick up another 11-0, come up through the crystal, and then come up through the other side of our 8-0 from where we started. Now, last time I didn't secure this and it kind of crushed. So this time we're going to go ahead and sew back through. We're going to go down the 11-0 into the 11-0 on the other side. If I can get it. And the 8-0. And we're just going to sew through these beads again. Just the way we attached it, we're just going to do it again. We're just going to sew up through all of these beads. And this way, we can make sure that our little top bead here and our little 11-0s are nice and tight before we slide down in to make our next connection. So now this looks a little bit better. I did go back when I was off camera and tighten this one, sew through it again, and it looks a little better. So make sure that you do that on each unit. And then, now that we're exiting this 8-0 seed bead here, we're going to come down into these 4 seed beads in our original loop. Don't include the seed bead between the druck and the 8mm round that was in our original base. And then come through the 8mm crystal, just like that. And then we're going to do, as we did before, we're going to make a connection. We're going to put 3 11-0 seed beads and then a 6-0 seed bead and 3 11-0 seed beads on our needle, just like this. And then we're exiting this side of the crystal. We're going to go to the other side of the crystal, come through, and pull our beads down. We are going to now sew around this again, make it nice and secure. And pull it tight and neat. And now that it's secure, we need to sew up to our 6-0 so that we can add our 1 unit of right angle weave. And we're going to pick up 3 6-0 seed beads, and we're coming out of this side of our 6-0, we're going to go into the opposite side and pull, just like that. Now we need to tighten these beads, they're loose. So I'm going to sew back through all of these beads. And then now that I'm through the bottom connecting bead, I'm going to sew up and get myself into the top bead here. Now, we're going to do something a little bit different here. This is going to be the dangling part of our necklace. Up here, this connection will be where it splits off, and one side of the necklace will go this way, we'll make components this way, and one side of the necklace will go this way. However, if we do that, it'll make a T, and we want it to be at an angle. So what we're going to do is we're coming out of the top of our 6-0 seed bead here. We're going to pick up, now that we've got this unit pretty well secure, tighten it, make it nice, we're going to pick up another 6-0 seed bead. And we're going to insert it between these 2 beads. So I'm coming out of this one, I'm going to go into the one right beneath it. And I'm going to put the 6-0 at an angle, just like this. And then I'm going to sew down into the connecting 6-0. I'm going to sew up into the side 6-0. And here I'm going to pick up another 6-0 seed bead. and then I'm going to come from this seed bead into the top seed bead, like so. Now I have got two little seed beads at an angle, and these are the two that I will build my components for my necklace from. So I'm going to come down into this one here, and I am going to start my next component. So I will pick up 3 11-0 seed beads. I will pick up a 8mm round, and then I will pick up 3 11-0 seed beads, just like this. And then I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to come into my 6-0 seed bead right here, just like this. And now I have my bead to connect with, but it's loose, so we're going to sew all the way around it again. So sew up through all the seed beads and the crystal seed beads and the 6-0. And then bring yourself up into the crystal again so that you can be positioned to start your next unit. Now, we will do our series of, we'll need 3 of our 8mm rounds, and we will need 4 of our 6mm rounds, and we will need 11-0 seed beads. So we will pick up, this is going to be our first bead on our unit here. So now I have all 4 of my 8mm for my next unit, and I have all 4 of my 6mm rounds for my next unit. So what I will do is I'm going to come around into my crystal, and I'm going to then sew around all these beads. Now, you have the base for your next unit. You will build your units this direction now. So you'll go ahead and build from here, then your next unit you'll connect here, and you will make 5 units, including this one. So when you have finished making 5 units, make sure that you connect your little top bead from this bead to this bead when you're putting on your 11-0s in your top 8mm, and then work out of this bead for your next little unit of right angle weave. Connect your next unit to that, and we will make 5 more units, including this one. Okay, and so this is what I have so far, and this is I've made my 5 units. This is the part that will dangle down, so we'll have to build this way again. But first, we're way up here. Let me turn this back around. We are way up here on this little connection. I've made my 5 units. I went ahead and made my extension in my little connection for what would be my next unit. However, I'm not going to make another unit. Now I'm just going to make a little extension here and put my clasp on. I'm going to make this a little bit longer. This is right about a little over 16 inches now as it is. So I am going to, if I had the other side, it would be that long. So I'm going to make it a little bit longer. I like them to be, this one probably 18 to 20 inches just because of the dangle. We want it to go down our chest. We don't want it to be real high up on our neck. So I'm going to go ahead and make like 5 units of right angle weave here to extend this and make it a little longer. So I'm coming out of this little 6-0 seed bead here. I'm going to go ahead and pick up 3 more 6-0 seed beads. I'm coming out of this side. I'm going to go into the other side of the bead on my necklace here. Pull them together. I'm going to sew back around all of them again. Once I get into my connecting bead, then I will sew back down around to the top. Then I will pick up 3 more and do that again. We will do this until we get 5 units or 6 units or however many units you would like to extend. So I have made my 5 units of right angle weave here. This will make the necklace portion, the part that goes around the neck, right at 18 inches. When we add the clasp, it'll make it a little longer. So it'd be right around 19 inches, something like that. Now you have to remember that you will have this portion dangling down the chest, so that will make it hang down about 2 more inches. So now that I have come to the end of my little units that I've added to extend my necklace, I'm going to add my clasp. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads and an 8-0 seed bead, and then pick up my clasp. I'm going to bring these all the way down to my work here. Now I am going to go around the clasp here and into the 8-0. This just makes a little loop and attaches the clasp. And then I'm going to pick up 3 more 11-0 seed beads onto my needle, like this. And then I'm just going to come into the opposite side of the 6-0 seed bead from where I started. And I'm going to pull this tight. And then we're going to sew up these 3 11-0 seed beads, and then into the 8-0, around the clasp, and down the 11-0s, and into the 6-0. We're going to do this about 4 times. Now I have secured my clasp onto my necklace, and I'm exiting the 6-0 seed bead right here. And now I'm going to embellish these units of right angle weave, work my way down and embellish the front of the necklace so that I can move all the way down to the middle and start the other side of the necklace making my components. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, a 6mm round bead, and 2 11-0 seed beads. You can use your 4mm rounds if you prefer. I'm just going to try the 6mm rounds. I'm designing this necklace as I'm making it today, and so I'm going to see how this works out. Now I'm coming out of this 6-0 seed bead. I'm going to go into the opposite side of the opposite 6-0 seed bead in this unit of right angle weave. And I'm just going to pull, just like that. That balances that little 6-0 on top. Now I'm going to pick up 2 more 11-0 seed beads. And then I'm going to come in, I'm coming out of the 6-0 on the bottom here. I'm going to come into my 6mm round again and pull. And then I'm going to pick up 2 more 11-0 seed beads. And then I'm going to go into the 6-0 seed bead underneath the 6mm round bead, just like that. And that's what your little embellishment will look like. And then I'm coming out of the 6-0 seed bead. I'm going to go into the next 6-0 seed bead in my right angle weave unit and pull my thread. And I'm going to pull everything tight, make sure it looks good. And then, let's get just a little closer so you can see. I'm going to turn it and go into the 6-0 seed bead on the bottom here. This gets me into my next unit of right angle weave to start again. So I'm going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, a 6mm round bead, and 2 11-0 seed beads. I'm coming out of this side of the 6-0 seed bead here. I'm going to go into the opposite side of the opposite 6-0 seed bead in my right angle weave unit and pull my thread, just like that. And now I'm going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, and I'm going to go into the bottom hole here of the 6mm round and pull. And then I'm going to pick up 2 more 11-0 seed beads, and then I am going to go into the 6-0 seed bead underneath here and pull. Pull it all tight, and then I'm coming out of this 6-0 right here. I'm going to go into this one here. Pull everything tight, and then go into the bottom 6-0 and start again. And we will do this until we get all the way down to our bottom unit of right angle weave, and then we'll be back. So I have finished my embellishment here. Now these 6-0s are a little big, so like I said, if you want to use a 4mm round, you can, but I think this will work. You just will need to arrange them, make sure that your thread has enough slack, but is tight enough. Enough slack to move a little bit, but is tight enough to where you don't see a bunch of thread and it looks pretty. And you don't want it so tight that it curls, because this will curl if it's too tight. Now I'm coming out of the last 6-0 under my embellishment here. Now I want to sew down these 4 11-0 seed beads here, right here, that attach my first unit of right angle weave to my crystal. I'm just going to go down these, just like this, and pull through. And then I'm going to go into my crystal and come out the other side. Just like this. So now that we're coming out of the bottom of this crystal here, we are going to work an embellishment down and work into these little units of right angle weave here to embellish the bottom of our necklace. I'm going to show you the reason I went through the 11-0s and come out the bottom of the crystal is I want to make sure this is the bottom of my necklace I'm working through. Now the 2 that we made, the 2 units we made first, and then went off to the side, this will be the bottom of the necklace. This will hang down the chest. So we will know that we want to work on this side of the necklace now. So now that we're coming out of the crystal, we're aiming down towards the bottom, and we're going to pick up a series of 11-0 seed beads and crystals. You will have 4 crystals with 4 11-0 seed beads in between each one. And you'll pick up a series like that. And then you're going to come all the way over into this bottom seed bead on this unit of right angle weave. And just pull. Just like that. And then we're going to put a little embellishment on top of this unit of right angle weave. That's not only going to dress it up and make it pretty, it's also going to secure the embellishment we just put on. So we're going to pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, a 6mm round bead, and 2 11-0 seed beads. We are coming out of the crystal on this side here. We're going to go into the top crystal just opposite it in the opposite side and pull. Just like that. Make sure everything's nice and neat. And then, let's get just a little closer. Pick up 2 11-0 seed beads. You're coming out of this side of the 6-0 seed bead. You're going to find the hole in the 6mm crystal or bead round and come through it and pull it to where the seed beads lie nicely on either side. And then pick up 2 more 11-0 seed beads. Then you're going to come into the 6-0 seed bead that you started to come out of when you started your embellishment. You're going to go into the side that doesn't have 2 11-0 seed beads already in it and pull, just like this. And now you are coming out of the bottom of the 6-0 seed bead and you're ready to make your next embellishment over to the next 6-0 seed bead. Make sure that you have a series of 4 crystals with 4 11-0 seed beads on each side. And then come up through the next unit of right angle weave in the bottom 6-0 seed bead, just like that. And then again, we will put our embellishment on top with our 6mm round. So we'll pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, and then we will pick up a 6mm round and 2 11-0 seed beads. And now we are coming out of this side of the 6/0 seed bead, we are going to go into the opposite 6/0 seed bead on the opposite side and pull. And now we'll pick up 2 more 11/0 seed beads. We'll come through the hole of the 6mm round again and pull it straight. And then pick up 2 more 11/0 seed beads. Then go through the bottom 6/0 seed bead again, just like this. And now we are ready to put our next dangle on. So we will go ahead and do a series of 4 crystals with 4 seed beads on either side, hook into our next right angle weave unit, put our embellishment on top, and then move to the next. You will continue to do that until you come to this one right here, right before the curve, and we'll be back. Okay, so I have finished all of my embellishments from the end to this one right here. And this is the first unit before the curve. I need to go around and connect in here. I want to make this swag, however, the little bottom droopy part here, I want to make it a little bit bigger on this one, so, or a little bit longer. So I'm going to pick up 6 seed beads and 4 4mm crystals. So I will have 6 seed beads in between my 4 crystals this time. Once you get those, drop them down, just like that. And then we're going to bring this over, and we're going to come down through the top of this side one. So see, this is still, it's the bottom one, but because it's at a curve, it's going to be kind of strange looking. So it will be this one right here. Bring it through. And then we're going to do something a little bit different now. We're going to pick up 6 11/0 seed beads. Onto our needle like this. And then we're going to come through this first crystal on our swag here. So we're going to drop these down. We're coming out of the 6/0 seed bead. We have our little 11/0s here. We're going to come into this crystal right here. Let's see if you can see what I'm doing here. Just like that. And then we are going to pick up another series, and this time we're going to pick up with the 4 seed beads in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then our crystal, and then 4 seed beads, and we'll do this until we have 4 crystals with 4 seed beads on either side. Once you get those on your needle, bring them down your thread, and then this time we're going to go into this seed bead right here. Just like that. And then once we're through going through that, then once we're through this one, we're going to go through, let's see if I can get back in frame here, through the bottom seed bead and this right angle weave unit. So we've come through the side, we're going to go through the bottom, and then we're going to go up through the other side. Just like that. Now we're going to go ahead and make the embellishment that comes up here. We'll have to work our way back down to do the other side of the embellishments once we get our other components on. But right now, we're going to go ahead and do our 4 seed beads and our 4 crystals, and then come up into this unit. Okay, so I have my 4 crystals and my 4 seed beads in between. However, on this side, it's a little bit different, as you can see. So we need to add 1 more crystal. and then 6 11/0 seed beads. And then we're going to come up into this little 6/0 seed bead on the top here. Now we will start making our next, actually not this one, not the curved one. Don't want to go into the angled one. Just made a mistake here. I'm going to get really close to show you what I'm talking about. This angled one right here is the one we placed to make our units for our necklace in. So you want to go into, with this embellishment here, this one right underneath. Go into it first. And then pull your little swag up like that. Just like that. And then we will hop up into, well, first we're going to put a little embellishment on this right angle weave in the center here. So we're going to do exactly like we've been doing over here. We're going to pick up 2 11/0 seed beads, a 6 millimeter round, and 2 11/0 seed beads. We're coming out of the top of this 6/0 seed bead right here. We are going to go into the opposite one in the opposite side, right over here. Just like that. And then we're going to pick up 2 more 11/0 seed beads. And we're going to go into the hole in the top of the 6 millimeter round bead and pull through. And then we're going to pick up 2 more 11/0 seed beads. And then we have to come down. It's kind of hard to see under all my stuff here. I'm going to get you even closer. We're going to come into the bottom 11/0 seed bead, or 6/0 seed bead, in the center of our necklace here. Just like this. And then, once you're through there, now you're coming out of the 6/0 seed bead underneath all of this. You're going to come into the side 6/0 seed bead. Try to avoid all the 11/0s everywhere, and just come into this 6/0 seed bead. Pull tight. Make sure your embellishment is pulled really well so that it's not loose at all. And then go into the top 6/0 seed bead right here underneath your embellishment. And then we're going to come into the sideways 6/0 seed bead right here, the one that we reserved to make the other half of our necklace here. And so what we're going to do then is we are going to pick up, we're going to start our first component on this side. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads and a crystal. And then 3 11/0 seed beads. So we've got our 8 millimeter round and our seed beads on here. Drop it down, and then we're going to come underneath into the 6/0 seed bead, just like this. And pull. Now we need to sew around this to secure everything. So I'm just going to pick it up and just go into all my 11/0 seed beads, just like we did on all of our other units that we made. We're just going to sew around it and secure it down to make sure our connection is nice and secure, and that our beads are stable so that we can work our component through it. And then we're going to come up through the crystal right here. Now we can begin to pick up our series of 4 6/0s and 4, or not 6/0s, 6 millimeter rounds, and 3 of our 8 millimeter rounds, because we have one already. Bring all these beads down, and I'm going to back off a little so you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so now I have all my beads on. For my next unit, I'm going to come up around into my crystal. And then we're going to sew around all these beads again and secure them and start our next component through our base here that we've just created. Then you will make 5 components, connecting them together with right angle weave, and 5 components of right angle weave, or 5 units of right angle weave at the very end to make your extension for your clasp. And then we will come back and do our embellishments and finish up. So I have finished my 5 components with a unit of right angle weave in between each component to connect them. And then when I got to the end, I did 5 units of right angle weave. I attached my clasp. I came back down and embellished each unit of right angle weave with my 11/0s and my 6mm round beads. And then if you come out on the end of your embellishment of your last unit of right angle weave and you're coming out the wrong way to come up through the crystal and be on the bottom of the necklace, you can tie a little half-hitch knot and turn yourself around in one of the beads so that you can come through your very last crystal here, because you want your thread coming through that crystal towards the bottom of your necklace so you can start your next embellishments. So I am here. Let's get a little closer. I am here coming out of my crystal after I've done my embellishments. I did come out of the wrong side, so I tied a little half-hitch knot and then turned myself back around so that I could come through the crystal. And then I have added onto my thread my next embellishment. Like we did on the other side, we're going to add 4 crystals with 11/0 seed beads in between. You start with the 11/0 seed beads and end with the 11/0 seed beads. And you will need 4 crystals and 4 11/0 seed beads, just like this. So I have started with my 11/0s and I'm finishing with my 11/0s. And then I'm going to come through the bottom bead in my unit of right angle weave. And then I'm going to put my little top embellishment on, just like we did the other side. And I'm going to work myself all the way down until I get to this component right here. And when we do that, when I have finished down to here, I will be back and show you how to connect to the center. So I have finished all of my embellishments. I've worked my way all the way down between the first and second bead before our mid portion here on the necklace. And now I am going to add my last embellishment. I have put onto my thread a series of beads, just as I've been using in the other embellishments, the 4 seed beads with crystals in between. And now I'm going to show you how we're going to connect this last one. So in this very last one, instead of coming directly over and just hooking into this 6/0 seed bead here, we are going to come up through. We've got our 4 crystals with our 4 little seed beads in between. We're just going to come up through this crystal right here on this embellishment, the very last crystal or the very top crystal on the embellishment on the side here. And we're going to come up through the bottom of that crystal. And I consider that the bottom because this portion right here is the bottom of my necklace. So you're going to come up through this way, just like that. And then, in order to connect it like this side is connected, you need to pick up 6 11/0 seed beads onto your needle. And then we are going to come into the seed bead on the side of our very center embellishment here. This seed bead right here, the 6/0, right underneath our very center embellishment. And we're going to come through that. Straighten out my beads. And now this side matches this side. So what we're going to do now, I want to sew down. I'm going to get myself out of my little center where I'm caught here. I'm going to sew all the way down all of these beads in this embellishment, and then I'm going to put one more little 6mm bead in the center of this embellishment, and then we can tie off. So let's move back up so you can see what I'm doing. Now I'm just going to come back through the 6 seed beads right underneath this 6-0 that we're exiting here. It's kind of difficult to get your needle under there because of the embellishment on top. Just kind of take it slow and do some aiming here, and then try to come through all 6 of the seed beads and the crystal right here. So now I'm exiting here, and I'm just going to sew through this entire embellishment and work my way down. And you can take as many beads at a time as you can. If you can only do a few, that's fine too. Just make sure that you don't miss any, because if you don't go through them all, when you pull your thread, you're going to bunch up your embellishment and it's going to look funny. So just continue to sew all the way down. Until you get to the center. Once you get to the center, go through the seed bead, the 6-0 seed bead that this embellishment is connected to. And then you'll slide through the seed bead, the 6-0 seed bead, right above your very bottom unit or component. Then once you have worked your way all the way down into the little 6-0 seed bead right here above, between the two lowermost units, your dangles here, you are going to pick up, let's see, this one is going sideways, so we're going to sew up into the side. We're in the bottom, we're going to sew up into the side seed bead because we want this embellishment to match this one. And so since it's sideways, we're going to place this one sideways too. Just like that. Then you will pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, a 6mm round bead, and 2 11-0 seed beads. You're coming out of this side of this 6-0 seed bead here. We're going to go into the seed bead just opposite that one and go into the opposite side that we're exiting. And pull our needle through. Pull our embellishment on top, pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, come through the hole of the 6mm bead again, and then pick up 2 11-0 seed beads. Then we're going to turn this kind of sideways, and we're going to go back into the bead we started in the side that doesn't already have seed beads in it. And we're going to pull. And now we're going to go through the top 6-0 seed bead right above the embellishment we just put on. Pull everything really tight. Make sure your embellishment looks good. Go down into the side 6-0 seed bead that we started in. Go into the bottom one again. Turn your piece of work over. Just like this. We're coming out of this seed bead right here. We are then going to slide down these 3 seed beads here. Go into the crystal out the other side. Sew down the 6 seed beads in the back portion of your component. And then go into the 8/0 seed bead that connects your loops. And then right on the thread bridge here, right next to the 2 8/0s, you can go right underneath, grab that thread bridge, come up, and tie a half hitch knot. Do it carefully so not to catch any of your beads in the process. Pull it tight, and then sew into your 8/0 seed beads. Again, it's going to work your way around. And you can tie off as many times as you want. I'm just going to go ahead and go around these 8/0 seed beads once, and I'm going to cut off my thread. And then I will show you what we've made. Here's our finished project. Excuse me. I hope you enjoyed this project. I apologize if there are any hesitations or change of directions or anything that have confused you at all. I was designing this necklace as I made this video. So sometimes as I'm doing that, I'm not really sure exactly where I'm going next. But hopefully you were able to stay with me, and I would love to see any of your projects that you finish. You send me pictures on my Facebook page so I can see what yours looks like. Have fun. Bye-bye.